The moment Dylan Jones steps off the shuttle, blue-skinned alien females start dripping. Viscous moisture forms on their skin as they struggle to maintain composure, trembling at the sight of human males. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. The interstellar research vessel, Horizon, hangs in orbit around Kepler 22b, a newly discovered exoplanet teeming with alien life. Lead xenobiologist Dylan, 32, leads his all-male science team onto the planet's surface. Their mission: establish peaceful relations with the Ocampa, an advanced alien species. But as introductions begin, it becomes clear that something unexpected is happening. Ella, the Ocampa's lead diplomat, approaches the human delegation. Her large, expressive eyes widen as she takes in the human males. She opens her mouth to speak, but words fail her. Her blue-tinted skin flushes a deeper shade, and her pupils dilate visibly. Dylan watches in fascination as a sheen of moisture forms on Ella's skin. It's reminiscent of human perspiration, but thicker, more viscous. He glances at her assistants and notices they're exhibiting the same symptoms. Their bodies quiver slightly as they stare at the human men. Welcome to Kepler 22b, Ella finally manages, her voice shaky. We are pleased to make your acquaintance. Dylan nods, acutely aware of the tension in the air. He introduces himself and his team, trying to maintain a professional demeanor. But with each word, the Ocampa females seem to become more affected. Their breathing quickens, and the moisture on their skin increases. As Dylan continues the formal diplomatic proceedings, he can't help but notice Ella's struggle to focus. She stumbles over her words, her gaze constantly drawn to the human males. The realization hits him. The Ocampa females are experiencing an intense, involuntary attraction to human men. This unexpected development threatens to derail the entire mission. Years of preparation, the fate of humanity's first contact with an advanced alien species, Earth standing in the galactic community, it all hangs in the balance. And it's all because alien girls are getting wet at the sight of human males. Dylan's mind races. How can he salvage the situation? He needs to gather scientific data, establish diplomatic relations, and lay the groundwork for future cooperation. But with the Ocampa females in this state, any action could be misconstrued. The last thing he wants is to be accused of taking advantage of the situation. Yet as he looks at Ella, he feels his own composure slipping. Despite her alien features, or perhaps because of them, he finds her captivating. Her large eyes, the blue tint of her skin, the way she moves with a grace that seems almost ethereal. It all combines to create a beauty he's never encountered before. Dylan shakes his head, trying to clear his thoughts. He's a scientist, here to do a job. He can't let his own unexpected attraction cloud his judgment. But as the Ocampa female's reactions intensify, he realizes he needs to make a decision quickly. The fate of two species rests on his next move. Cultural misunderstandings, potential conflicts, the success of the research mission, it all depends on how he handles this moment. As tension mounts and both species struggle to navigate this unforeseen complication, Dylan takes a deep breath. It's time to prove why humanity deserves its place among the stars. Dylan cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. I believe we should take a brief recess, he suggested, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. It would give us all a chance to regroup. Ella nodded, her large eyes still fixed on Dylan. Yes, that seems wise, she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. As the two groups separated, Dylan gathered his team in a secluded area near their shuttle. Dr. Marcus Chen, the mission's xenobiologist, was already pulling out his datapad, his fingers flying over the screen as he inputted observations. This is unprecedented, Chen muttered, more to himself than the group. The physiological responses are off the charts. Captain Eric Steele, the team's security officer, crossed his arms. It's a security nightmare. We can't predict how this might escalate. Dylan ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. We need to find a way to continue our mission without compromising our scientific goals or Earth's diplomatic interests. Meanwhile, in a private chamber, Ella leaned against a cool metallic wall, her skin still glistening with moisture. Her closest advisor, Lyra, stood nearby, concern etched on her features. I don't understand what's happening to me, Ella confessed, her voice trembling. It's like my body is no longer my own. Lyra placed a comforting hand on Ella's shoulder. We'll figure this out. For now, we must focus on maintaining diplomatic relations. When the two groups reconvened, Dylan stepped forward, his posture confident despite the uncertainty he felt. In light of our unique situation, I propose we split into smaller research groups. This should minimize direct contact between our species while allowing us to proceed with our mission. Ella's eyes widened, a mix of relief and disappointment washing over her. That seems reasonable, she agreed, her gaze lingering on Dylan. As the groups dispersed, Dylan found himself accompanying Dr. Chen to the Ocampa's biotechnology facility, with Ella as their guide. As they walked, Dylan couldn't help but notice the faint, bioluminescent glow emanating from Ella's skin whenever she neared him. Chen's scientific curiosity overtook his professional reserve. Fascinating, he murmured, pulling out a handheld scanner. Ella, would you mind if I took some readings? Ella hesitated for a moment before nodding. I admit, I'm curious about these reactions myself. As Chen conducted his scans, his eyebrows shot up. This is remarkable, he said, his voice filled with excitement. The changes aren't just superficial. There are significant alterations in brain chemistry and hormonal balance. Dylan leaned in, intrigued despite himself. What are you thinking, Marcus? Chen's eyes gleamed with the thrill of discovery. I believe we may be triggering a long-dormant mating response in the Ocampa species. There could be some unexpected genetic compatibility at play here. Before they could discuss further, a commotion at the facility's entrance caught their attention. A group of male Ocampa, led by a stern-faced elder, strode purposefully towards them. I am Council Elder Zorn, the leader announced, his voice carrying an unmistakable edge of authority. We demand an immediate audience with the human leader and diplomat Ella. Dylan straightened, sensing the gravity of the situation. He turned to Chen and the rest of his team. Continue your research discreetly. I'll handle this. As Dylan followed Zorn towards the council chambers, he noticed Ella's conflicted expression. Her body still reacted to his proximity, but there was a new tension in her posture, a sense of duty warring with desire. The council chamber doors loomed before them, imposing and ancient. Dylan took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. As the doors swung open, he was met with the stern gazes of the Ocampa elders, their expressions a mix of concern and suspicion. Ella took her place among the council, her skin still faintly glowing, a visible reminder of the issue at hand. Dylan stepped forward, acutely aware that his next words could shape the future of human-Ocampa relations. The chamber fell silent, all eyes fixed on the human diplomat. Dylan's mind raced, searching for the right words to address the council's concerns while protecting the mission's objectives. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and he knew that every gesture, every word would be scrutinized. As he opened his mouth to speak, Dylan couldn't help but glance at Ella. Their eyes met briefly, and in that moment, he saw a reflection of his own grit. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, navigating the complex waters of interspecies, diplomacy, and unexpected attraction. The chamber doors swung open, revealing a semicircle of stern-faced male elders seated behind a crescent-shaped table. Dylan stepped forward, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous room. Ella moved to take her place among the council members, her skin still emitting a faint glow. Council Elder Zorn, his weathered face etched with concern, stood to address the assembly. Esteemed colleagues, we face an unprecedented situation. The arrival of these human males has triggered alarming physiological responses in our females. He gestured to a holographic display that materialized above the table, showing graphs and charts. Our medical team reports significant increases in hormone levels and altered brain activity in affected females. This raises serious concerns about potential social disruption and genetic contamination. Dylan felt the weight of the council's scrutiny as Zorn turned to face him. Human, how do you explain this phenomenon? What assurances can you offer that your presence won't destabilize our society? Taking a deep breath, Dylan stepped forward. He'd faced challenging, diplomatic situations before, but never with such high stakes. Honorable council members, I assure you that we had no prior knowledge of this effect. We are equally interested in understanding and mitigating these reactions. He paused, noticing Ella shifting uncomfortably in her seat, her skin pulsing with a soft luminescence. Several council members exchanged worried glances, underlining the gravity of the situation Dylan was attempting to address. I propose a joint human-Ocampa research initiative, Dylan continued, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. By combining our scientific expertise, we can study this phenomenon thoroughly. This cooperation could lead to valuable insights for both our species. As the council murmured among themselves, a young Ocampa aide hurried into the chamber, whispering urgently to Dylan. "Sir, an urgent message from your research team." Dylan's comm device lit up with Dr. Chen's excited face. "Dylan, we've made a breakthrough. We've isolated a unique pheromone produced by human males that triggers the intense reactions in Ocampa females. But that's not all. It appears to be activating dormant genetic sequences in the Ocampa. This could be related to their evolutionary history." The chamber erupted into chaos as Dylan relayed this information. Elder Zorn's face darkened with concern. "This is precisely what we feared. We must quarantine all human males immediately to prevent further contamination." Other council members voiced their opinions, creating a cacophony of competing arguments. Some saw the pheromone as a threat to Ocampa society, while others recognized potential benefits in unlocking dormant genes. Amidst the uproar, Ella rose to her feet. Despite her visible discomfort, her skin now pulsing with an intense glow, she raised her voice above the din. "Esteemed colleagues, please, we must consider the potential benefits of this discovery." All eyes turned to her as she continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "This could lead to breakthroughs in our medicine. It might even solve our long-standing fertility issues. Are we to turn our backs on such an opportunity out of fear?" Her impassioned speech, delivered while clearly affected by Dylan's presence, swayed several council members. Dylan watched in admiration as Ella masterfully balanced scientific curiosity with diplomatic tact. After hours of heated debate, the council reached a compromise. Elder Zorn turned to Dylan, his expression a mix of resignation and caution. "We will allow your research team to continue their work, but under strict supervision. Contact between human males and Ocampa females will be limited and monitored." Dylan nodded, understanding the delicate nature of the agreement. "Thank you, council members. We appreciate your trust and will honor these conditions." As the meeting concluded, Dylan noticed a group of younger male Ocampa watching the proceedings with keen interest. Their leader, a confident-looking individual, approached Dylan as the council dispersed. "I'm Tarek," he introduced himself, eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Your effect on our females is intriguing. Many of us younger males are fascinated by humans and the changes you might bring to our society." Before Dylan could respond, his comm device buzzed again. Dr. Chen's face appeared, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Dylan, we've made another discovery. Prolonged exposure to the human pheromones might lead to permanent changes in Ocampa physiology. It could potentially alter their reproductive capabilities." Dylan's mind raced with the implications of this new information. The stakes had just been raised significantly for both species. As he prepared to brief his team on the council's decision in this latest development, another message flashed across his screen, this one encrypted and marked as confidential from Earth Command. With trepidation, Dylan opened the message. His eyes widened as he read its contents. Similar physiological reactions had been observed in other alien species exposed to humans. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a larger pattern. Dylan looked up, meeting Ella's gaze across the now empty council chamber. She stood near the exit, her skin still shimmering faintly, a question in her eyes. He knew he had to decide quickly whether to share this new information with the Ocampa Council. "Shall we head to the research facility?" Ella asked, her voice carrying a hint of both anticipation and apprehension. Dylan nodded, acutely aware of the complex web of personal, scientific, and diplomatic challenges that lay ahead. As they walked side by side towards the facility, the air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken tension and possibility. The fate of human-Ocampa relations hung in the balance, with the potential for groundbreaking discoveries offset by the risk of social upheaval and interspecies conflict. Dylan knew that every decision, every interaction from this point forward would shape the future of both their peoples. Species. Dylan knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was determined to navigate them with diplomacy and scientific rigor. As they approached the research facility, Dylan's comm device buzzed again. He glanced at it, noting a new message from Earth Command marked urgent. However, before he could read it, Ella stumbled, her skin pulsing with an intense glow. "Are you all right?" Dylan asked, instinctively reaching out to steady her. Ella nodded, her breath coming in short gasps. "I'm fine. It's just intensifying." They entered the facility, where Dr. Chen was waiting for them, his eyes alight with excitement. "Dylan, Ella, you need to see this," he said, leading them to a holographic display. The display showed a complex web of molecules and genetic sequences. Chen pointed to a specific area. "We've identified a protein in human DNA that triggers the production of a hormone in Ocampa physiology. It's remarkably similar to human oxytocin." Ella leaned in, her scientific curiosity overriding her physical discomfort. "Could this be related to our fertility issues?" Chen nodded enthusiastically. "Precisely. This could be the key to solving your species' reproductive challenges." As they discussed the implications of this discovery, a commotion outside caught their attention. Dylan moved to the window, his eyes widening at the sight of a growing crowd of young male Ocampa gathered outside the facility. "What's going on?" he asked, turning to Ella. She frowned, her skin pulsing with concern. "It's Tarek and his followers. They've been demanding access to human pheromones. They believe it will help them attract females." Dylan's comm device buzzed again, this time with a message from Captain Steele. "Sir, the protests are growing larger. We need to increase security measures." As Dylan coordinated with Steele, Ella received an urgent communication from Council Elder Zorn. Her face paled as she listened. "Zorn is calling for an emergency council session. He wants to revisit the decision to allow our research to continue." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Dylan and Ella worked tirelessly, overseeing the research while trying to manage the growing political tensions. Despite the controlled environment of the facility, Ella's reactions to Dylan's presence continued to intensify. Her skin now emitted a constant soft glow when near him, and she often found herself lightheaded, her heart racing. Dr. Chen conducted further tests on willing Ocampa female volunteers, including Ella. The results were both promising and concerning. "The changes in Ocampa physiology appear to be permanent," Chen reported. "The dormant genes activated by the pheromones are altering the reproductive system, potentially increasing fertility and lifespan." Dylan rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of this discovery. The potential benefits are significant, but the societal upheaval? Ella nodded, understanding the implications. "Our people are already divided. This could tear us apart." As they grappled with this ethical dilemma, the situation outside the facility continued to deteriorate. The protests led by Tarek grew more aggressive, and rumors of a planned attack on the facility began to circulate. Late one night, as Dylan was reviewing security protocols with Captain Steele, Tarek burst into the facility, his face pale with fear. "You need to evacuate immediately," he gasped. "Zorn has secretly backed a group of extremists. They're planning to destroy the containment systems and release the pheromones across the entire settlement." Dylan's mind raced. "When?" "Now," Tarek replied. Without hesitation, Dylan activated the facility's emergency protocols. Alarms blared as he, Steele, and a security team rushed to secure the critical areas. They arrived at the main containment unit just as a group of masked Ocampa were breaking through the outer defenses. A chaotic confrontation ensued. In the midst of the struggle, a stray energy blast hit one of the containment units. The room filled with a hissing sound as a concentrated dose of human pheromones escaped into the air. Ella, who had arrived to assist with the evacuation, stumbled as the pheromones hit her. Her skin blazed with an intense light, and she collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed by the physiological response. Dylan saw her fall and, without thinking, fought his way through the affected area. The air was thick with the pheromones, making it difficult to breathe. He reached Ella, scooped her unconscious form into his arms, and carried her towards the exit. As he staggered out of the compromised area, alarms continued to blare. Emergency containment fields snapped into place, isolating the affected sections of the facility. Dylan looked down at Ella's face, her skin still glowing intensely, and realized that the situation had escalated beyond their control. He watched as the facility was locked down, quarantine procedures initiated. The decisions he would make in the coming hours would shape not just the fate of their research, but the future of human-Ocampa relations, and possibly the entire Ocampa species. As he held Ella's unconscious form, Dylan's mind raced with the potential consequences of what had just transpired. He knew that when Ella regained consciousness, they would both have to confront the reality of their intensified connection and the chaos unfolding around them. The facility, once a beacon of scientific cooperation, now stood as a silent testament to the unforeseen complications of their mission. Dylan took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges that lay ahead. The next steps he took would be crucial, not just for the immediate crisis, but for the long-term future of both their peoples. Dylan's mind raced as he carried Ella's unconscious form through the chaos of the facility. Alarms blared and emergency lights flashed, casting an eerie red glow over the corridors. He could feel the heat radiating from her glowing skin, a constant reminder of the unpredictable situation they now faced. As he burst into the medical bay, Dr. Chen looked up from his console, eyes widening at the sight of Ella's condition. "Put her on the biobed," he instructed, quickly activating the containment field around the examination area. Dylan gently laid Ella down, his hand lingering on her arm for a moment. He watched as Dr. Chen began scanning her with various instruments, his face a mask of concentration. "What's happening to her?" Dylan asked, unable to keep the concern from his voice. Before Dr. Chen could answer, Ella's eyes fluttered open. She gasped, her back arching as a wave of bioluminescence rippled across her skin. "Dylan," she whispered, her voice strained. "Something's changing." Dr. Chen's fingers flew over the console, analyzing the incoming data. "Fascinating," he murmured. "The concentrated pheromone exposure has accelerated the genetic changes in her reproductive system. Her body temperature is fluctuating rapidly, and her bioluminescence seems to be a response to the physiological stress." As they watched, Ella's skin pulsed with light, the intensity waxing and waning like a heartbeat. She closed her eyes, her breath coming in short gasps. "Everything feels heightened," she said. "I can sense things I never could before." Dylan's comm device buzzed insistently. He reluctantly turned away from Ella to answer it, finding Captain Steele's grim face on the screen. "Sir, we have a situation developing outside," Steele reported. "Council Elder Zorn has gathered a large group of conservative Ocampa males. They're demanding our immediate surrender and expulsion from the planet." Dylan's mind focused. "Set up defensive perimeters around the facility. We need time to assess the situation and stabilize Ella." As he ended the call, another figure appeared at the medical bay entrance. It was Tarek, the young Ocampa male who had warned them about the attack. His eyes widened as he took in the scene before him. "Is she all right?" Tarek asked, gesturing towards Ella. Dylan nodded cautiously. "She's stable, but experiencing some unexpected changes. What's the situation outside?" Tarek's expression grew serious. "It's tense. Zorn is using the attack to push for human expulsion, but not everyone agrees. I've gathered a group of moderates who see the potential benefits of your research. We want to help mediate." Dylan considered the offer, weighing the risks and benefits. Finally, he nodded. "All right. Set up a meeting with a small delegation. We need to find a way to de-escalate this situation." As Tarek left to arrange the meeting, Dylan turned back to Ella and Dr. Chen. Ella was sitting up now, her eyes wide with a mix of wonder and apprehension. "Dylan," she said, her voice stronger now, "I can feel everything. It's like my senses have been amplified tenfold." She reached out, her fingers stopping just short of touching his arm. "And I can sense your presence even with my eyes closed. It's as if there's an energy field connecting us." Dr. Chen looked up from his scans, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. It appears the pheromone exposure has triggered a rapid evolution in Ella's physiology. These could be latent Ocampa abilities that have been unlocked. Before Dylan could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Chen rushed to a nearby console, his fingers flying over the controls. His face paled as he read the incoming data. "This is unprecedented," he breathed. "Ella's body is now producing a new type of pheromone. It's affecting both Ocampa males and females, and it's spreading through our air filtration system." Dylan's mind raced with the implications. "We need to evacuate non-essential personnel immediately and contact the ship in orbit. We're going to need emergency assistance and containment equipment." As Dylan began coordinating the evacuation, Ella's condition took a dramatic turn. Her body began to emit pulses of energy, causing nearby equipment to flicker and spark. "What's happening?" Dylan asked, alarmed. Dr. Chen's eyes were glued to his readings. "It's incredible. Her evolved physiology seems capable of manipulating energy fields. This must be another latent Ocampa ability, fully activated by the human pheromones." Outside the facility, chaos was erupting. Reports flooded in of Ocampa in the vicinity exhibiting similar changes: bioluminescent skin, heightened senses, and in some cases, energy manipulation abilities. Dylan knew he had to act fast. He made his way to the facility's main communication center, Ella following close behind. Her presence seemed to create a visible distortion in the air around them, like heat waves on a scorching day. "I'm going to address both the Ocampa outside and the council," Dylan announced. "We need to explain what's happening and call for calm." As he prepared to broadcast, he could see the human ship entering the planet's atmosphere through the view screen. Help was on the way, but would it be enough to contain this rapidly evolving situation? Dylan took a deep breath and activated the communication system. The fate of both species hung in the balance as he prepared to address a population on the brink of an evolutionary leap. The dawn of a new era in human-Ocampa relations was breaking, and the next few moments would shape the course of their shared future. Destiny. Dylan's fingers hovered over the broadcast controls, his mind racing with the weight of the moment. Ella stood beside him, her skin pulsing with an otherworldly glow, her presence a constant reminder of the unprecedented changes they faced. As Dylan opened his mouth to speak, the facility shook violently. Alarms blared anew, and the view screen flickered to life, revealing a massive ship descending through the planet's atmosphere. "It's Admiral Chen's ship," Dylan breathed, a mixture of relief and apprehension washing over him. The human vessel touched down near the facility, its engines stirring up clouds of dust. Within minutes, a team of specialists in sleek containment suits poured out, led by a tall woman with a commanding presence, Admiral Sarah Chen herself. Dr. Marcus Chen rushed to meet the new arrivals, his face a mask of excitement and concern. "Admiral, we have a situation unlike anything we've encountered before," he said, gesturing towards Ella. "The Ocampa are undergoing rapid genetic changes, triggered by exposure to human pheromones." Admiral Chen's eyes widened as she took in Ella's glowing form. "Containment is our top priority," she stated firmly. "We need to prevent further spread until we understand the full implications." As the human team set up advanced containment equipment around the perimeter, Ella gasped, doubling over. Dylan rushed to her side, supporting her as waves of energy rippled across her skin. "It's getting stronger," she whispered, her voice strained. "I can feel everything." Dr. Chen approached, medical scanner in hand. "Her physiology is continuing to evolve at an accelerated rate," he reported, brow furrowed. "We need to stabilize her condition before it overwhelms her system." Working together, Dylan and Dr. Chen guided Ella to a makeshift medical bay. They combined human medical technology with Ocampa healing techniques, attempting to bring her rapidly changing body under control. Ella's skin flickered like a star-going supernova, energy crackling around her. "Hold on, Ella," Dylan murmured, gripping her hand tightly. "We're going to get through this." Outside the facility, chaos erupted. Reports flooded in of Ocampa throughout the settlement, exhibiting similar changes. Skin glowing, senses heightened beyond normal limits. Some even displayed the ability to manipulate energy fields, causing power fluctuations across the grid. Council Elder Zorn, his face contorted with rage and fear, rallied his supporters. "This is an attack on our very way of life," he shouted, his voice carrying across the panicked crowds. "We must seize control and expel these human invaders before it's too late." As Zorn's followers marched towards the central government building, Tarek pushed his way through the throng, his eyes wide with drive. He found Dylan overseeing the human containment efforts. "Dylan, we need to act fast," Tarek said, his voice urgent. "Zorn is attempting a coup. If he succeeds, it could plunge our entire society into chaos." Dylan's mind raced, weighing their options. "What do you suggest?" Tarek took a deep breath. "Ella's new abilities. They seem to have a calming effect on other Ocampa. If we could use her influence to broadcast a message of unity, it might prevent this conflict from escalating further." Dylan hesitated, considering the ethical implications. Before he could respond, Dr. Chen approached, his face alight with excitement. "You need to see this," he said, leading them to a console displaying complex genetic data. "The changes we're seeing in the Ocampa population, they're not random mutations. These appear to be dormant traits from their evolutionary past, suddenly reactivated." As they digested this information, Admiral Chen strode into the room, her face grim. "I'm implementing a full quarantine protocol," she announced. "We're deploying energy shields to contain the spread of these evolved pheromones. No one goes in or out until we have a handle on the situation." The sound of distant explosions rocked the facility. Captain Steele's voice crackled over the comm system. "Sir, Zorn and his loyalists have breached the outer defenses. They're headed for the main research lab." Dylan's lips pursed. He turned to Tarek, decision made. "Let's do it. We'll use Ella's abilities to send a message of peace. It's our best shot at ending this before it goes too far." They rushed to Ella's side, explaining the plan. Despite her weakened state, she nodded, perseverance shining in her eyes. "I'm ready," she said, her voice stronger than it had been in hours. As they prepared for the broadcast, Ella's powers surged once more. The facility's lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness, broken only by the ethereal glow of Ella's skin. In that moment of chaos, the future of both species hung in the balance, with the next few minutes poised to shape the course of human-Ocampa relations for generations to come. "Come." The sudden pulse of energy from Ella surged through the facility, overloading systems and plunging the room into darkness. As the emergency lights flickered to life, Dylan blinked away the afterimage of Ella's luminescent form. "Status report," he barked, his eyes adjusting to the dim red glow. Captain Steele's voice crackled over the comm. "Sir, we've subdued Zorn and his loyalists. They're secure in the holding area." Dylan nodded, relief washing over him. "Good work. Minimize force and casualties." He turned to Dr. Chen, who was already hunched over a console, fingers flying across the interface. "What's the situation with the Ocampa population?" The scientist's eyes widened as data streamed across the screen. "It's extraordinary. We're receiving reports of widespread genetic changes throughout the settlement. Enhanced strength, heightened senses, even limited telekinesis in some cases." Admiral Sarah Chen strode into the room, her face set in fierce dedication. "I've established a secure link with the Federation Council. They're sending a diplomatic team to assist with negotiations." As they processed this information, Ella stirred on the medical bed. Her skin still pulsed with a soft glow, but her eyes were clear and focused. "Dylan," she called, her voice stronger than before. "I have an idea." Dylan moved to her side, taking her hand. "What is it?" Ella sat up, her gaze intense. "My evolved pheromones. We could use them in controlled doses to guide the genetic awakening of my people. It might help minimize negative side effects and social upheaval." The room erupted into heated debate. Dr. Chen argued for the scientific potential, while Admiral Chen raised concerns about ethics and long-term consequences. Dylan listened intently, weighing each perspective. Their discussion was cut short by a blaring alarm. A technician rushed in, face pale. "Sir, long-range sensors have detected a fleet of ships approaching at high speed. They're unlike anything we've seen before." Dylan's mind raced. "Origin?" The technician shook his head. "Unknown, sir, but their technology appears far beyond ours or the Ocampa's." Admiral Chen immediately took charge. Initiate defense protocols. We need to prepare for all possibilities. Dylan nodded, then turned to Tarek, who had been quietly observing. We need your help. Can you organize teams of Ocampa to assist in fortifying key locations? We need to present a united front. Tarek straightened, perseverance in his eyes. Consider it done. I'll bring together both pro-evolution and conservative factions. As they mobilized, Dr. Chen called out, excitement in his voice. I've made a breakthrough. The Ocampa's genetic changes aren't random. They follow a specific pattern encoded in their DNA. It's as if this evolution was engineered. Dylan froze, the implications hitting him. He locked eyes with Ella, seeing the same realization dawn on her face. The approaching aliens, he breathed. They could be connected to your people's past. Ella nodded slowly. Perhaps they're returning to check on their experiment. Time was running short. Dylan made a snap decision. Ella, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might give us the insight we need to communicate with these aliens. He outlined his plan, a procedure to temporarily link their minds, combining Ella's evolved abilities with his human perspective. Dr. Chen and a team of Ocampa healers prepared the necessary equipment, their movements quick and precise. Dylan and Ella lay side by side, electrodes attached to their temples. Dr. Chen's voice was tense as he initiated the procedure. Remember, we don't know exactly how this will affect you. If anything feels wrong, we'll terminate immediately. As the machines hummed to life, Dylan felt a strange tingling sensation at the base of his skull. He turned his head, meeting Ella's gaze. Her eyes widened, and suddenly, they were one. Memories, sensations, and knowledge flowed between them like a raging river. Dylan experienced the full depth of Ocampa history, feeling the weight of generations of suppressed potential. Ella, in turn, saw the vastness of human experience, the drive to explore and understand. Together, they glimpsed fragments of an ancient civilization, one that had shaped the Ocampa's very essence. As quickly as it began, the connection faded, leaving them gasping and disoriented. Dylan, Ella, are you all right? Dr. Chen's concerned face swam into view. Dylan sat up slowly, his heart pounding from the experience. We're okay, he managed, glancing at Ella, who nodded in agreement. Admiral Chen burst into the room. The alien fleet has entered the system. We need a plan, now. Dylan and Ella exchanged a look, their newfound bond humming between them. We have an idea, they said in unison. As they quickly briefed the Admiral and the Ocampa Council on their insights, tension filled the air. The fate of two species hung in the balance, with an unknown alien force approaching rapidly. Dylan and Ella stood side by side, their connection stronger than ever. As they prepared to face this new challenge, Dylan couldn't shake the feeling that everything they had experienced so far was just the beginning. The true test lay ahead, one that would shape the destiny of both humans and Ocampa for generations to come. The air crackled with tension as Dylan and Ella faced the looming challenge. Their newfound mental connection thrummed with shared purpose and understanding. We need to establish contact, Dylan said, his voice firm. Our combined knowledge might be the key to communicating with these aliens. Admiral Chen nodded, her expression resolute. Agreed, let's move to the command center and coordinate our efforts. As they hurried through the facility's corridors, alarms blared and personnel rushed to their stations. The sense of urgency was palpable. Dylan felt Ella's presence in his mind, a comforting anchor amidst the chaos. They entered the command center, a hub of frantic activity. Screens displayed the approaching alien fleet, their massive ships unlike anything humanity had encountered before. Status report, Admiral Chen demanded. Captain Steele's voice rang out. The alien fleet has entered the system, sir. They'll be in orbit within the hour. Dylan turned to Ella. We need to combine our technology with your people's abilities. It might be our best chance at establishing meaningful contact. Ella nodded, her eyes glowing with newfound power. I'll gather our most skilled psychics. We can create a unique communication array. As Ella coordinated with the Ocampa, Dylan worked with the human technicians to modify their existing communication systems. The air hummed with anticipation and nervous energy. Within minutes, a makeshift communication hub took shape. Ocampa psychics sat in a circle, their hands linked, while human technicians calibrated delicate equipment around them. "They're entering orbit," a technician announced, his voice tense. All eyes turned to the main view screen as the alien ships took up position above Kepler 22b. Their sleek, otherworldly designs made Earth's most advanced vessels look primitive by comparison. Suddenly, the lead ship projected a massive holographic image. A tall, ethereal being appeared before them, its multiple limbs swaying gently. Its skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, creating an almost hypnotic effect. The being's voice resonated through the chamber, bypassing their communication systems entirely. "We are the progenitors. We have returned to oversee our experiment." Dylan stepped forward, his heart racing. "I am Admiral Chen, representing the human presence on Kepler 22b. We come in peace and seek to understand your purpose here." The progenitor's gaze seemed to pierce through him. "Humans, your presence here is unexpected and unwelcome. You are interfering with the predetermined evolutionary path of the Ocampa." Admiral Chen joined Dylan. "We respectfully disagree. Our alliance with the Ocampa has been mutually beneficial." The alien's luminescence intensified. "You will leave this planet immediately. The Ocampa are our creation, part of a grand experiment in guided evolution." Before anyone could respond, the facility's power flickered and died. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing the room in an eerie red glow. "They've disabled our technology," Captain Steele reported, his voice tight with concern. Outside, panicked shouts could be heard as the Ocampa settlement plunged into darkness. The progenitor's display of power sent waves of fear through both populations. Dylan turned to Ella, an idea forming in his mind. "Your evolved abilities, they're similar to the progenitors, just on a smaller scale. Maybe you can establish a direct link with them." Ella's eyes widened. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance." She stepped into the center of the psychic circle, her skin beginning to glow. Dylan moved to support her, their mental links strengthening. "Show them what we've accomplished together," Dylan urged. "Let them see the positive outcomes of our cooperation." Ella nodded, took a deep breath, and projected her consciousness towards the progenitor ship. The effort was immediately visible. Her body tensed, and the air around her crackled with energy. A brilliant surge of light erupted from Ella, temporarily blinding everyone in the room. When Dylan's vision cleared, he saw Ella collapsing. He rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. "Ella!" he cried, cradling her unconscious form. Her pulse raced beneath his fingers as he anxiously monitored her condition. For several agonizing minutes, the room was silent except for the soft beeping of medical equipment. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the mental exchange ended. Ella's eyes fluttered open, filled with wonder and exhaustion. "I saw so much," she whispered. The holographic image of the progenitor reappeared. Its demeanor noticeably changed. "We have miscalculated," it announced. "The human presence has accelerated the Ocampa's evolution beyond our projections. This requires further study." Admiral Chen stepped forward cautiously. "What are you proposing?" "A new arrangement," the progenitor replied. "We will work alongside both species to guide the Ocampa's awakening and study the effects of human-Ocampa interaction." As a gesture of goodwill, the progenitors used their advanced technology to stabilize the genetic changes occurring in the Ocampa population. The chaos that had gripped the settlement began to subside. Dylan helped Ella to her feet, supporting her as they approached the hologram. "We're open to cooperation," he said, "but we need assurances that all parties' interests will be protected." The progenitor inclined its head. "We propose a joint research initiative. Your unique bond with the Ocampa makes you ideal candidates to serve as liaisons." Admiral Chen conferred quickly with her staff and the Ocampa Council. After a tense discussion, she turned back to the progenitor. "We accept your proposal. Let's establish a trilateral commission to oversee this initiative." As the details of the new alliance were hammered out, Dylan and Ella stood together, their minds still linked. They could feel the weight of history shifting around them, opening up new possibilities for all three species. "This is just the beginning," Ella murmured, her eyes fixed on the stars visible through the command center's viewport. Dylan nodded, squeezing her hand. A new chapter for all of us. As the newly formed commission began its work, the implications of this unprecedented alliance rippled across the galaxy. The combined knowledge and abilities of humans, Ocampa, and progenitors held the promise of unlocking secrets beyond their wildest imagination. As the newly formed commission began its work, the implications of this unprecedented alliance rippled across the galaxy. The combined knowledge and abilities of humans, Ocampa, and progenitors held the promise of unlocking secrets beyond their wildest dreams. In the days that followed, the progenitors made good on their word, providing advanced technology to stabilize the genetic changes in the Ocampa population. Dr. Chen worked tirelessly alongside progenitor scientists, marveling at the intricacy of their methods. "It's incredible," he explained to Dylan and Ella as they observed the process. "Their technology allows for a gradual, controlled evolution. No more unexpected power surges or dangerous mutations." Ella nodded, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of relief and excitement. "Our people can finally embrace their potential without fear." As key liaisons in the commission, Dylan and Ella found themselves at the center of this groundbreaking work. Their unique bond, forged during the crisis, continued to strengthen. They discovered they could communicate telepathically, sharing thoughts and sensations with increasing ease. One afternoon, as they walked through the research facility, Dylan suddenly stumbled. Ella caught his arm, concern etched on her face. "What's wrong?" she asked aloud, while simultaneously projecting her worry through their mental link. Dylan shook his head, trying to clear the disorientation. I saw through your eyes for a moment. It was like I was looking at myself from the outside." This incident didn't go unnoticed. Both human and progenitor scientists clamored to study their unprecedented connection, seeing it as a potential key to unlocking further human-Ocampa integration. The commission quickly established a series of controlled experiments to explore the full potential of human-Ocampa interaction. Dylan and Ella volunteered as primary test subjects, their dedication to the project unwavering. In one experiment, they were asked to attempt a deep mental fusion while monitored by an array of advanced sensors. As they joined minds, the readings went off the charts. Ella's skin began to glow with an intensity never before seen in an Ocampa, while Dylan exhibited brainwave patterns eerily similar to those of evolved Ocampa. Dr. Chen burst into the room, his eyes wide with excitement. "This is unprecedented. Dylan, you're showing signs of limited telepathic ability. And Ella, your bioluminescence, it's pulsing in perfect sync with Dylan's heartbeat." As news of these developments spread, Kepler 22b became a focal point of galactic interest. The once quiet system now buzzed with activity as ships from various alien species arrived, all eager to observe or participate in the groundbreaking research. Admiral Chen found herself working around the clock to manage the influx of visitors. "We need to expand our fleet's presence," she told Dylan during a strategy meeting. "I've requested additional ships from Earth. We can't risk any security breaches with so much at stake." Meanwhile, Ocampa society underwent rapid changes as more individuals developed enhanced abilities. Tarek emerged as a charismatic leader among the younger generation, advocating for the integration of these new powers into everyday life. "We have been given a gift," Tarek declared at a public gathering. "It's time we embrace our evolution and build a new future for our people." His words resonated with many, but not all. Zorn, recently pardoned and struggling to find his place in this new world, became the voice of the conservative faction. "We risk losing everything that makes us Ocampa," Zorn argued. "Our traditions, our way of life, all swept away in this mad rush towards so-called progress." The tension between these factions grew, threatening to fracture Ocampa society. It was in this climate that the progenitors proposed their most ambitious project yet, the evolution simulator. "We can create a virtual environment," the progenitor representative explained, its bioluminescent patterns shifting with excitement. "A place where we can test various scenarios of Ocampa evolution without real-world consequences." The idea was met with both enthusiasm and skepticism. Some saw it as a valuable tool for predicting and preparing for potential outcomes, while others feared it could be used to manipulate the course of Ocampa development. Despite the controversy, Dylan and Ella volunteered to be the first test subjects. They stood before the imposing virtual reality chamber, a marvel of progenitor engineering. "Are you ready?" Dylan asked, squeezing Ella's hand. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of willpower and apprehension. "Together," she said simply. As they entered the chamber and the simulation began, neither of them could have predicted the profound impact this experience would have, not just on them, but on the future of human-Ocampa relations. The virtual world shimmered into existence around them, a perfect replica of Kepler 22b as it might appear decades into the future. They found themselves walking through a bustling city where humans and Ocampa lived side by side, their societies seamlessly integrated. "This is incredible," Dylan breathed, taking in the advanced architecture and technology surrounding them. Ella's eyes widened as she observed an Ocampa child, casually levitating objects while playing with human friends. "Our abilities, they've become so natural, so accepted." As they explored this potential future, their real-world bodies began to exhibit strange phenomena. Ella's bioluminescence intensified, visible even through the chamber's walls. Dylan's brainwave patterns fluctuated wildly, mimicking those of highly evolved Ocampa. Outside the simulation, Dr. Chen and his team watched in awe. "We're witnessing the next step in human-Ocampa co-evolution," he murmured, furiously taking notes. But even as Dylan and Ella delved deeper into the simulated future, a crisis was unfolding in the real world. A radical faction of Ocampa, led by the charismatic Varen, launched a series of attacks on research facilities. "We will not be lab rats for aliens and humans," Varen's voice boomed through hijacked communication channels. "The Ocampa must be free to choose their own path." As Admiral Chen and Tarek scrambled to respond to this new threat, Dylan and Ella remained oblivious, lost in the depths of the evolution simulator. The scientists, fearing the potential risks of an abrupt termination, decided to let the simulation continue. Inside the virtual world, years passed in the span of hours. Dylan and Ella experienced lifetimes of potential futures, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. But as they approached a critical juncture in the simulation, a juncture that promised to reveal the ultimate outcome of human-Ocampa integration, the real world was poised on the brink of a confrontation that could change everything. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the facility's speakers, tension evident in her tone. "All personnel, prepare for potential hostile action. We've located Varen's hideout and are moving in to neutralize the threat." As Alliance forces converged on the radical faction's location, the future of human-Ocampa relations hung in the balance, and within the evolution simulator, Dylan and Ella stood unknowingly on the precipice of a revelation that could reshape their understanding of both their species' destinies. Potential futures. As Dylan and Ella delved deeper into the simulated world, their real bodies began to exhibit extraordinary changes. Ella's skin pulsed with an otherworldly glow, visible even through the chamber's walls. Dylan's brainwave patterns fluctuated wildly, mirroring those of highly evolved Ocampa. Dr. Chen watched the monitors with growing concern. "These physiological changes are unprecedented," he muttered, furiously taking notes. "We need to monitor them closely." Outside the simulation chamber, chaos erupted. Alarms blared as Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the facility's speakers. "All personnel, prepare for potential hostile action. We've located Varen's hideout and are moving in to neutralize the threat." Inside the virtual world, Dylan and Ella remained oblivious to the unfolding crisis. Years compressed into hours as they experienced lifetimes of potential futures. They witnessed the birth of hybrid children, their skins shimmering with a subtle bioluminescence. They saw human and Ocampa communities merge, creating a new unified culture that celebrated the strengths of both species. As the simulation accelerated, Dr. Chen's concern grew. "Their physiology is changing too rapidly," he warned his team. "We need to extract them before these changes become irreversible." Meanwhile, Admiral Chen and Tarek led a joint human-Ocampa strike team to Varen's hideout. The operation was swift and precise. They breached the compound's defenses, neutralizing Varen's supporters with minimal casualties. "Surrender, Varen," Tarek called out, his voice echoing through the compound's corridors. "Your cause is lost." Varen emerged from his command center, his eyes wild with desperation. "You're destroying everything that makes us Ocampa," he snarled, raising a stolen progenitor weapon. In a split second, Tarek pushed Admiral Chen out of the line of fire. The energy blast caught him squarely in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground. "Tarek!" Admiral Chen cried out, rushing to his side as her team subdued Varen. Back at the research facility, Dr. Chen initiated the emergency extraction protocol. The simulation chamber hummed with energy as the system prepared to pull Dylan and Ella back to reality. Inside the virtual world, Dylan and Ella stood at the precipice of a revelation that promised to unveil the ultimate outcome of human Ocampa integration. Suddenly, the world around them began to dissolve. "What's happening?" Ella gasped, reaching for Dylan's hand. "I don't know," Dylan replied, his voice tinged with confusion and fear. "It feels like we're being pulled." Their words were cut short as they were wrenched from the simulation. They stumbled out of the chamber, disoriented and gasping for air. Dr. Chen rushed to their side, medical scanners in hand. "How do you feel?" he asked urgently. Dylan blinked, his vision swimming. I can see energy fields," he mumbled, staring at his hands in wonder. A faint blue glow pulsed beneath his skin. Ella's eyes widened as she focused on Dr. Chen. "I can hear your thoughts," she whispered, her voice trembling. As the medical team swarmed around them, Admiral Chen's voice came through on the facility's communication system. "The threat has been neutralized," she reported, her voice heavy with emotion. "Varen is in custody, but Tarek's been injured. We're en route to the medical bay." The research team worked tirelessly to stabilize Dylan and Ella's condition as news of the crisis resolution spread. The progenitors, intrigued by the unexpected outcomes of their experiment, analyzed the data from the evolution simulator. "This bond between humans and Ocampa," one progenitor representative mused, "its bioluminescent patterns shifting rapidly, it has the potential to create a new species with abilities beyond our original designs." This revelation sparked heated debate among the progenitors. Some viewed it as a threat to their carefully orchestrated experiments, while others saw it as an unprecedented opportunity for study. As Dylan and Ella underwent a battery of tests, more Ocampa began seeking out human partners, hoping to accelerate their own evolution. The research facility buzzed with activity as couples lined up for compatibility screenings. Admiral Chen, recognizing the potential for conflict, implemented strict regulations on human Ocampa interactions. "We need to monitor and control the rate of genetic changes," she explained to her staff. "Establish a series of medical and psychological evaluations for all interspecies couples." Meanwhile, the Ocampa Council convened an emergency session to address the rapidly changing situation. The council chamber was filled with tense voices and conflicting opinions. "We must embrace this evolution," one council member argued passionately. "It's the key to our species' survival and growth." "But at what cost?" another countered. "We risk losing everything that makes us Ocampa." As the debate raged on, Tarek was rushed into surgery. His recovery became a symbol of hope for those advocating continued human Ocampa cooperation. Dylan and Ella, still adjusting to their new abilities, found themselves at the center of scientific study and public attention. Their unique bond represented the potential future of human Ocampa relations, making them both celebrities and test subjects. "I can feel everything you're feeling," Ella murmured to Dylan as they sat in the observation room, surrounded by curious scientists. "It's overwhelming." Dylan nodded, his eyes fixed on the faint energy fields he could now perceive around them. "We need to learn how to control these abilities," he said softly, "for our sake and everyone else's." As tension continued to build within and between species, a new challenge emerged. Long-range sensors began picking up anomalous readings from the edge of the system. Multiple unidentified objects approaching at high speed, a technician reported, her voice tight with anxiety. Admiral Chen leaned over the sensor displays, her brow furrowed. "Could be automated probes or ships," she mused. "We need to prepare for all possibilities." As the Human Ocampa Alliance mobilized to face this potential new threat, Dylan and Ella stood together, their hands intertwined. The unique abilities they had gained from their experience in the evolution simulator might be the key to defending their newfound partnership. Whatever's coming, Dylan said, his voice steady, we'll face it together. Ella nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of drive and apprehension. As they prepared for the unknown, the future of human-Ocampa relations hung in the balance, poised on the edge of a new frontier in galactic history. The unidentified objects streaked across the star-studded void, their approach sending ripples of tension through the Kepler-22b system. Dylan and Ella, their newly acquired abilities humming beneath their skin, found themselves thrust into the heart of the Alliance's defense efforts. "We need to establish a unified command structure," Dylan said, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of the approaching vessels. "Our strength lies in our diversity." Ella nodded, her mind already reaching out to connect with the Ocampa psychics scattered across the planet. "I'll coordinate with Tarek to form a telepathic network. We can use it to relay information faster than any comm system." Admiral Chen, her face etched with purpose, issued rapid-fire orders to the human fleet. Ships moved into defensive formations, their sleek hulls glinting in the light of Kepler-22b's star. On the planet's surface, Tarek gathered a group of evolved Ocampa, their combined mental energies weaving an invisible shield around the world. The progenitors, their curiosity piqued by this display of cooperation, offered their assistance. "We can augment your sensor arrays," one of them communicated, its bioluminescent patterns shifting rapidly. "It will give you a more accurate reading of the approaching vessels." As the objects entered the system, Dylan and Ella stood side by side in the newly established Joint Command Center. Screens flickered with data streams, while Ocampa telepaths relayed real-time information from the psychic barrier. "Multiple signatures detected," a human technician reported, her fingers dancing across her console. "We're seeing a mix of automated probes and small scout ships." Dylan's enhanced perception allowed him to see the energy signatures of the approaching vessels. "They're not in an attack formation," he observed. "Their approach seems curious." Ella's eyes unfocused slightly as she tapped into the collective consciousness of the Ocampa psychics. "I'm sensing interest, fascination. They're here to observe, not to conquer." Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "Initiate first contact protocols. Let's see if we can establish communication." Dylan and Ella exchanged a glance, their unique bond allowing them to communicate without words. Together they reached out with their minds, seeking contact with the lead scout ship. The alien minds they encountered were a kaleidoscope of thoughts and emotions. Images flashed between them, news of the human-Ocampa alliance spreading across distant star systems, rumors of guided evolution experiments, and whispers of progenitor involvement. "They've come to see for themselves," Ella murmured, her voice filled with awe. "News of what's happening here has spread across the galaxy." As the scout ships entered orbit, Admiral Chen quickly implemented quarantine protocols. "No unauthorized landings," she ordered. "All communication must go through official channels." The Ocampa Council convened an emergency session, their chamber buzzing with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Tarek, still bearing faint scars from his encounter with Varen, addressed the gathering. "This is our chance to take our place among the stars," he said, his voice ringing with conviction. "We must approach this opportunity with open minds and caution." Meanwhile, in the research facility, Dr. Chen made a startling discovery. Poring over data from Dylan and Ella's latest examinations, he noticed a pattern in their genetic structure. "It's remarkable," he breathed, calling up holographic representations of their DNA. "Their prolonged exposure to the evolution simulator has triggered a form of symbiotic evolution. They're adapting to each other on a genetic level." News of this breakthrough spread like wildfire through the human and Ocampa communities. Volunteers flooded the research facilities, eager to participate in similar experiments. The progenitors, their interest piqued by this unexpected development, proposed an expansion of the evolution simulator program. "We must study these effects on a larger scale," they communicated. "The potential for advancement is significant." As Kepler-22b's orbit filled with alien vessels, the strain on the system's resources became evident. Security patrols increased, and diplomatic channels buzzed with constant activity. Tarek, seeing an opportunity amidst the chaos, proposed a bold plan to the Ocampa Council and human leadership. We should establish an interstellar academy, he suggested, a place where different species can interact, share knowledge, and participate in controlled evolution experiments. The proposal met with initial skepticism, but as the positive outcomes of human Ocampa cooperation became increasingly apparent, support grew. The Ocampa Council allocated a vast tract of land for the Academy's construction, envisioning it as a symbol of their species' emergence onto the galactic stage. As the foundation for the Academy was laid, Dylan and Ella found their abilities evolving in unexpected ways. During a routine security briefing, Dylan suddenly visualized the complex network of energy fields surrounding the planet, while Ella simultaneously intercepted a burst of telepathic communication from a distant alien vessel. "Did you see that?" Dylan gasped, his eyes wide with wonder. Ella nodded, her mind still processing the alien thoughts. "It's like our abilities are combining, evolving." Their unique talents proved invaluable in managing the influx of alien visitors and maintaining the delicate balance of diplomacy and security. However, not everyone viewed these developments with enthusiasm. A group of human purists began to voice their concerns, arguing that humanity risked losing its identity through interspecies relationships. Similarly, a faction of conservative Ocampa, still loyal to the imprisoned Varan, warned of the destruction of their traditional culture. These dissenting voices created ripples of tension throughout the alliance. Dylan and Ella found themselves at the center of heated debates, forced to confront the long-term implications of their actions. As construction on the Interstellar Academy continued and more alien species arrived to observe the unprecedented cooperation on Kepler-22b, the Human Ocampa Alliance faced its greatest challenge yet. They would need to navigate the delicate balance between progress and preservation, all while managing the expectations and interventions of their new galactic neighbors. Dylan gazed out at the bustling construction site of the Academy, his enhanced vision picking up the swirling energy patterns of the diverse beings working together. Ella stood beside him, her mind attuned to the complex web of thoughts and emotions surrounding them. "We're on the brink of something incredible," Dylan said softly. Ella nodded, her expression a mixture of excitement and concern. "But at what cost? How do we move forward without losing ourselves?" As the sun set on Kepler-22b, casting long shadows across the landscape, the future of both species hung in the balance. The next steps they took would shape not just their own destinies, but potentially the course of galactic civilization itself. As the sun set on Kepler-22b, casting long shadows across the landscape, Dylan and Ella found themselves at a crossroads. The future of both species hung in the balance, and they knew they needed to take decisive action to secure the future of their partnership. "We can't just sit back and let others decide our fate," Dylan said, his eyes reflecting the willpower in his voice. "We need to show everyone what we're capable of." Ella nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "A demonstration," she suggested, her eyes lighting up. "Something that will leave no doubt about the potential of human Ocampa integration." They spent the next few days refining their plan, working tirelessly to prepare a proposal that would showcase the full spectrum of their combined abilities. When they finally presented their idea to the Alliance leadership, the room fell silent. Admiral Chen was the first to speak. "It's risky," she said, her brow furrowed, "but if it works, it could change everything." With approval granted, Dylan and Ella threw themselves into preparation. They trained relentlessly, pushing the boundaries of their abilities and fine-tuning their control. As word of the upcoming demonstration spread, excitement and tension built in equal measure. The day of the event arrived, and the newly constructed Interstellar Academy buzzed with activity. Representatives from various alien species filled the auditorium, their diverse forms a testament to the far-reaching impact of the Human Ocampa Alliance. Dylan and Ella stood backstage, their hands clasped tightly. "Ready?" Dylan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ella squeezed his hand in response. "Always." As they stepped onto the stage, a hush fell over the audience. Dylan and Ella's bodies began to glow with a soft bioluminescence, the light intensifying as they joined hands. The air around them seemed to shimmer with potential. Without a word, they began their demonstration. Energy fields materialized around them, twisting and flowing in intricate patterns. Colors danced through the air, painting the stage with vibrant hues that shifted and changed with each movement. The audience watched in awe as Dylan and Ella tackled complex scientific problems projected onto holographic displays. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, their minds working in harmony to find solutions that had eluded both species for generations. As the demonstration progressed, they showcased abilities that seamlessly blended human ingenuity with Ocampa psychic powers. They healed minor injuries with a touch, communicated complex ideas through thought alone, and even manipulated small objects without physical contact. The climax of the event came when Dylan and Ella invited volunteers from the audience to participate. A nervous human Ocampa pair stepped forward, their apprehension visible. "Don't worry," Ella said softly, her voice carrying easily through the silent auditorium. "We'll guide you through it." With gentle instruction, Dylan and Ella led the volunteers through a series of simple exercises. The results were immediate and visible. The human volunteer gasped as he experienced a flash of shared consciousness with his Ocampa partner, while she marveled at the sudden clarity of her thoughts. As the demonstration concluded, the auditorium erupted in applause. Even the most skeptical observers found themselves reconsidering their positions in the face of such undeniable evidence. In the days that followed, the impact of the demonstration rippled through both communities. The conservative Ocampa faction, led by the imprisoned Varen, called for a reconsideration of their stance. Human purists, while still cautious, began to engage in dialogues about controlled integration programs. Applications for the Interstellar Academy soared, with humans and Ocampa from all walks of life volunteering for joint projects and experiments. The progenitors, impressed by the outcomes, offered additional resources and technology to support further research. Amidst the whirlwind of activity, Dylan and Ella made a personal announcement that sent shockwaves through both communities. Ella was expecting a child, the first natural human Ocampa hybrid, conceived without genetic intervention. As news of the pregnancy spread, it became clear that this child would be born with extraordinary abilities. Regular scans showed a perfect blend of human and Ocampa genetic traits, along with new characteristics that neither species possessed individually. Dr. Chen led the medical team monitoring Ella's pregnancy, his excitement impossibly strong as he documented each new development. "This child," he said during one examination, his eyes gleaming with wonder, "could be the key to understanding the full potential of human Ocampa integration." Months passed, and the day of the birth arrived. In a private medical facility surrounded by their closest friends and colleagues, Ella gave birth to a healthy baby girl. As Dylan held his daughter for the first time, he and Ella experienced a powerful psychic connection with the newborn, feeling her emotions and seeing fleeting images of her future potential. "Aurora," Ella whispered, her voice filled with love and awe. "Her name is Aurora." The child, with her subtle glow and unusual eye color, became a living symbol of the benefits of cooperation and the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. Her birth catalyzed a wave of social and scientific advancements as both species fully committed to a shared future. In the years that followed, Kepler 22b transformed into a thriving hub of interstellar diplomacy and research. The Interstellar Academy expanded, welcoming students and researchers from across the galaxy. Human Ocampa partnerships became increasingly common, each contributing to the growing body of knowledge about their unique symbiosis. Dylan and Ella, now proud parents and respected leaders, continued to guide the Alliance's efforts. They watched with pride as Aurora grew, displaying remarkable abilities that surpassed even their own. Their family became a model for human Ocampa integration, inspiring countless others to explore the potential of interspecies relationships. As Aurora's powers developed, new challenges and opportunities arose. The Alliance found itself at the forefront of a galactic revolution, with far-reaching implications for the future of all sentient species. The journey that had begun with a simple diplomatic mission had led to the birth of a new era, and the adventure was far from finished.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.